Heyo, duckies and dice fiends. That's the wrong. Hold on. Hold on. Nope. Nope. Oh my goodness, Rex, thank you for the resub. That is 40 months. I got overexcited and hit the wrong button. Welcome on in, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you again to those of you who joined us on Sunday. We got so many redeems, so many new followers. In fact, hey Zeal, welcome. In fact, we hit our follower goal. We got 800 followers as of Sunday. So thank you all so very much for joining us. We appreciate you. And let's see, I didn't get to do the shout out at the end of it last time because we were like running a little late. So I will do it now. Again, we hit 800 followers. So thank you, all of you. Thank you, Puddle Glum, for using the bits to gigantify the emote and giving us clap, 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 frog. We much appreciate. Thank you, Ilaria, for resubbing on Sunday. And yes, that is what we got last time. So thank you so much. I am so sorry I did not get to read those out. But I was juggling a couple things, and I was trying to get us out as close to on time as I could. I had so much fun on Sunday. Thank you so much for coming by, for chatting, for punning, for donating. You all are wonderful. But that's not what we're here to talk about today. I just needed to do that housekeeping because y'all are important, and these charity games would not be a thing if not for y'all. So thank you. Hi, I'm Kay, and I'm here doing this every Tuesday. Also, allegedly, we will be doing Weird Wild's War on Friday. Allegedly, time is definitely a lie. Welcome on in, Lamia. We will not be doing a show next week. We are taking the week off for Christmas. However, we will be back on the 30th, kind of doing a year in review. Look, y'all, we didn't do as much this year as we normally do, so it's going to be a short episode. So we need y'all to please show up and tell us what all you did this year and what you are proud of. And we will be so excited to chat with you all and share that and celebrate various wins. There's 2 duckies in here. I'm going to kick one and let's see if it kicks the right ducky. So on that note, David, who the heck is you and what the heck is we doing here?
I have no problem with being kicked. However, context matters. No. Hi. I'm David, as you should probably know by now. I hope I hope y'all know. But this is the Chaotic Wholesome Tuesday Table Talk Show, where every week we talk about TTRPG stuff, about how to be a better player, how to be a better GM, how not to flub an interview about AI, how to be a better person, all with a focus on intersectionality and inclusivity so that we all could have a good time.
Yes, Rex, 40 months. It has been that long, and that is bananas. Thank you again. So yes, today, hey DC, welcome on in. I've heard you are taking next week off. You're taking a break for Tech Friday. And I hope that is true. Everyone deserves a break. Especially you. You work heckin' hard. We wanted to talk today because this is a thing that David is attempting to tackle specifically. About learning a new TTRPG system, because it is something that hopefully every one of us will have to do at some point. I think at this point I've played over 30 systems.
Wow.
I don't love all of them, but there's incredible value in trying out other systems and learning. Like the luck rolls that I used for the Jackalope fight on Sunday were taken from Backwater TTRPG, a great indie that just did luck so seamlessly that I went, cool, that's an excellent mechanic. Well done, Alex. And it is going to be different for every person. It is going to be even different between systems. Pixel chat, why are you doing this? Why are my captions? Okay, let's see if this is going to behave now. Maybe. Come on, Pixel chat. Pixel chat's having a hard time.
I mean, if it makes you feel any better, my internet is absolute trash.
Oh.
I've restarted my router twice, and it's still like, maybe you only want a sprinkle of internet. And it's like, no, give me all of the internet that is paid for.
Okay, I think it is behaving now. So this will obviously vary from person to person. It will definitely vary from system to system. Though some people are just wildly talented people who can pick up a TTRPG rulebook, read it, and know the rules. That is not me. DC says, yes, Tech Friday with Herb will be the last one of 2025. Taking the 26th off and January 2nd. Good for y'all. I'm proud of you. With Herb, obviously, that'll be a great episode. I am not one of those people who can pick up a book, read it, and understand how to run a game. I could pick up parts of the mechanics, and then I will sit there and go... I have made no secret of the fact that I learned to play... Hey, Matt, welcome on in. I learned to play D&D from watching Critical Role and Shikar with that bronze girl. I just started watching D&D, and David was actually there hilariously. I hadn't played much. I think we'd played a Pathfinder game and maybe a one-shot. And then I got to be on a stream that was supposed to be like 1 or 2 episodes and ended up being a very long dungeon crawl. And I was playing a rogue, and the GM was 100% convinced that sneak attack only triggered from hiding and was telling me I was doing it wrong. And I didn't know enough. I'm like, okay, I guess. And then I got far enough into Critical Role that I finished Mighty Nine, looped back around to Vox Machina, was watching Liam play a rogue and went, wait, that? And like pulled out the rule book and went and found it and went, okay, yes. And then got back on stream the next time and was like, no, I get sneak attack because I've got an ally harrying him. She was like, that's not how that works. Yes, it is. It's on this page. Flip. No, it's not. Okay. And suddenly my damage quadrupled. And hilariously, I really upset a guy who really didn't like me to start with, which was terribly entertaining.
Look, if you're the sort of man that doesn't like K, I need you to go down to your Big Five, to your Dick's Sporting Goods, to wherever sells athletic equipment, buy boxing gloves and a mouth guard and a lunchbox, and meet me outside. I will see you on the front lawn.
Rex
You're going to need all of it.
Rex is not for nothing. Critical Roles, Handbooker Helper taught me a ton when I was learning 5e. Yeah. Yes, fighting with the help of friends is the way. Exactly. Watching apps to learn a system is my favorite. APs to learn a system. Yes, I will watch. If I'm playing a thing, I want to watch the AP. I actually started... So we also have to talk about, there is a difference between learning a system to play it and learning a system to run it.
Big difference.
And we will dig into that. But I personally feel like I need to play it a couple times before I can run it. Southern lawyer voice. Your Honor, I think you will find on page 265 of the Dungeon Master's Guide, 5th edition states. Yes, exactly. Yeah, it was very funny because a dude got very upset that my halfling rogue started doing more damage than his orc. I think it was a warlock too. Like, it wasn't even a massive damage output character. He was so angry that my little halfling was dealing so much damage. And then he said bad things on the air and isn't allowed on the air anymore. I took no pleasure in that. None. None whatsoever.
He got nothing less than what he deserved. And if you ask me, not even 10% of what he actually deserved. But that
That's a whole
is
other
between
conversation.
me and the courts.
Uh, but yeah, when I was trying to, it's funny. I had played a little bit of D&D, decided I wanted to, um, I paid to see Daniel Craig as Bernard Blanc in a game. Uh, when I was deciding I wanted to learn to run D&D, I was terrified that I would not know enough about the rules, the world, the lore, the setting, etc., and was looking for advice on how to learn to run it. And all of these very well-meaning people, and I know that they were all incredibly well-meaning. Like all the answers I got were like, "Don't worry so much about the rules, like learn improv." And I'm like, "I've got the improv.
Right.
I need to know the rule." I understand that for a lot of people, they're like, "No, you can flub the rules." And I'm like, "I need to know the rules before I break them." I
It's funny because when I was a kid, now I grew up poor on the bad side of town. But not only did I have etiquette lessons, but um, my mother checked out an etiquette book for me and made me read it when I was in like fifth grade. Um, and I, I was not in a household where I could question my parents. Um, and then I got for a lot of different reasons got mixed into more polite society. I'm not talking like dinner with the queen or anything, but just um, a higher social and economic class. And so I knew most of the rules that everybody was playing by. But many years later, I asked my dad. I was like, "What? Why did y'all do that?" And it's like, "Well, one, so that you could not make an ass of yourself out in the streets. Like, just jot that down. And two, it is important. There's a difference between breaking the rules because you don't know any better and breaking the rules with intention. And you have to know the rules in order to break them with intention, because that is one of the ways you communicate socially with people. Is, you two have a moment and then you break a little rule and then you share that together, and then that's the thing. Um, and I have found that to be incredibly true when it comes to TTRPGs, because everybody talks about rule of cool, especially like with Matt Mercer and 5e. And they're like, "Oh, well, if you throw out all the rules, then the rules don't mean anything." And then, and it's like, yes, that's true. However, there are, like, when you make a special exception and you do something really cool by bending the rules, then that becomes a memorable moment for the people who are playing, for the people who are watching.
Mhm.
And so part of knowing when and how to do that is knowing the rules in the first place.
Lamia says, new live show idea, rules lawyer TTRPG division, where the players have to defend their clients for actions made in game. The game is chosen out of a hat.
Ooh.
Yeah, I got sent to straight up cotillion. That went about as well as you would expect. Um, I
For some
was
reason, I picture you with a bandana on, just like with the Rambo sash, throwing elbows at people.
No, it did not go that far, but I did embarrass my dad to the point where they said, "Well, as punishment, we're no longer sending you to Christian sports camp this summer."
Oh no! Oh, please don't throw me into the briar patch.
My mother is mad to this day that I still do not consider that a punishment. I'm like, I won. She is so
Yep.
mad that I never caught any remorse for that. Picture young Kay walking away from a burning festival hall. It was not that bad, but it was horribly, terribly embarrassing for my parents. But look, you take a person who really wasn't comfortable with the whole girl and dresses thing, an introvert, make them go to a school where had to wear skirt and uniform all day and be around people that they hated and that hated them, and then took them, made them put on a different dress and spend other multiple hours one day a week with people who they didn't like, who didn't like them, doing bullshit cotillion stuff. By the end of that class, I was so out of social battery that I couldn't even pretend to be polite about this stuff. It was bad. I had a hard time knowing TTRPG rules to run a game for a long time, and then a TTRPG came out where I was like, oh, I can do this. Yeah. Like, look, I am not gonna lie. Part of the reason I wrote Godplane was I was like, I don't know enough about the Forgotten Realms to run a game in that. I'm gonna not know a god or not know a region or know something, and people are gonna make fun of me. So I'm just gonna make up my own world. That is not necessarily the best way to do this, y'all. It is a lot of work.
It is not the most efficient. There was a fair bit of labor that went involved with that, and I'm extremely proud of Godplane, both as a setting and a game. But I would also not recommend it to the faint of heart.
Yeah, you know, my first GM game, I GM'd through the internet and recorded it so I could watch it back. And from then on, every game I have run has been online. So, you know, you don't have to be like me. Maybe don't be like me.
Yeah, the thought of watching myself GM a game just made me almost throw myself out of a second story window. Like, there's a window right here, and I almost just went out that motherfucker. Ooh-wee, no thank you.
But I will say, especially as we are in the era of rules-light games, there are a large number of rules-light games where the advice that I have been given and the advice that I would follow is like, yes, look, like, kind of get the basics, like read the quick start, build your character, know your character sheet, and let the GM teach you everything else. Because a lot of times, that's just how rules-light games are. Rules-light can be such a misnomer. Yes, it really can be. Open Legend RPG even helped edit some of it. That's awesome, TC. Because, like, look, I'm the person who, when I sit down to play a game, I want to build a character for that world, for that story, for that setting. Like, yes, I have a whole stable of characters who exist in my head, but I will adapt those characters to specifically fit the world, the narrative. Like, I have someone that can fit in there probably. Every so often I'll read a setting or a premise, and a brand new character pops fully formed into my brain. And that's, like, kind of a challenge. But, like, with Wonder Home, there's not all too much to, like, read in. I don't know what you're showing me there, David.
Just my Zoom is fucked up,
Okay.
but the stream is fine.
Okay, yes, you are fine on our end. Hilariously, it is your down, not your up, that's being a problem.
Right.
That's weird. Yes, Rules Light can definitely be a misnomer. And, like, part of my frustration a lot of time with Rules Light is, like, I want to know what this world is, what the setting is, so I can build a character to fit into it. And a lot of the times you're building the world as you go, or there isn't a set thing, so that can be frustrating for me, and I just have to, like, grab on and go. And, you know, with a Rules Light especially, I feel like depends on a good GM, and a good GM can just, like, slide you through it, and then you can get more comfortable with it. But that's kind of there are a lot of games where I sit down, I read the quick start, I watch an AP, I kind of start going through, like, okay, what class do I think I want to play, and looking at those mechanics and what do they look like. And then I slide into it, and I'm a person who really, with my anxiety, I need to have been a player a couple times and really feel like I have a grasp on the world and the setting and the lore before I can run a game. That is me. And again, your mileage may vary. But David, who is attempting to learn a system to run it, David, tell us your approach. Tell us your experience.
Look, it was funny because I messaged Kay earlier today and I was like, our brains work very differently, but we have a lot of things in common brain wise because I'm running a system based off of the official release of based off of a podcast. And so I'm listening to all 150 episodes of the podcast again from scratch in preparation to learn the system so that I can run the system. Which is probably most likely assuredly not necessary, and yet I am doing it. Luckily, I am a huge fan of said podcast. Um, but and and another thing is whenever I've been a part of games in the past that use new systems, I'll get the quick start or I'll get the book and I'll just kind of like flip through and be like, okay, this is how combat works. This is how your skills. Okay, I'm done. Boom. With this, I am reading every single word. Like I read the foreword, I'm reading the afterword, I'm reading the index. Like I'm reading every single word of the whole document before I even begin to think about planning said game. Um, but and it's funny because Kay was like, I've played over 30 systems. And I was like, wow, that's a lot of systems. And then I thought about it and I'm like, well, how many systems have I played? And that led to an internal discussion of, do I consider different editions of D&D to be different systems? And ultimately, yes, because no one who started with 5e knows what THACO is, and I'm so happy for them. I'm a little jealous, but I'm very happy for them.
I don't know how much you didn't get as much. Hey, Jason, welcome in. You didn't get as much time on the PAX floor, David, but there was a pin. It's my safe word is THACO.
Ooh, yeah, that's for the old schoolers, the old timey folk. Let's see, 3, 4. I'm doing a little like mental math of like how many different systems. I want to say I've played in like 8 to 10 different systems now that I think about it.
You've got Mothership, you've got Urban Shadows.
The vampire, because we had the one vampire game.
Yeah.
5e, 3.5, second edition, the system we're working on. I played Duality, which again, big shout out to Matt and Duality.
Yes.
System's great. Really love it. And I feel like I'm missing something, but eight is a good number.
Did I ever drag you into Pathfinder, Starfinder? I feel like.
No, I haven't. I've played. Oh yeah, and then yeah, I played a Pathfinder game. I played Pathfinder. Was it first edition or second edition that we played?
Did you have a 3-action economy or did you have spell slots?
I don't remember. Mostly I spent that entire session following everyone else around while everyone ruined everything. It was delightful. And also like
that never happens in a TTRPG. What are you talking about?
Right. But yeah, so I've played a number of systems. And like you said, yes, there's a big difference between playing in a game and running a game.
Yes.
And especially if you're playing a streamed game, I feel a lot more comfortable being not necessarily lackadaisical, but not overly prepared as a player in a new system, because I know that there will be people who are watching that also don't know the system. And so me asking questions and the GM explaining things to me helps the audience get into the system as well. And so I'm happy to leave a little space like that for myself. And we've had people who had never played 5e in our games, and even just me posting uh, full spells in the group chat, because like one of our players in a thing that we're testing, he's playing his first caster ever. He's been playing specifically Dungeons and Dragons for like more than like 10 years. His first non-martial character he's playing with us. And so I do make it a point to like post the actual spell in our group chat. Not just for him, but like, you know, if you're a ranger, or if you're a druid, or if you're a cleric, you're not going to really be super familiar with all the wizard spells, and vice versa. So, you know, posting haste or posting fairy fire, and going, this is what this spell does, and here are all the details of it, so that everybody can know, is really helpful, especially when people are geared towards working together, because you're not going to want to cast dispel magic on the big bad right after someone casts fairy fire. But
I will say very quickly, like, as someone who has joined games that have been running, like streamed games that have been running for a while, in systems that I don't know, like, there is that fear of, I don't know the system, it'll look like a dink. The best thing, like the thing that I found that, like, this is just good manners if you've been invited onto a thing anyway, but like, I went through and I made sure I listened to / watched previous episodes. I learned everything I could about the lore of the world, the characters I'd be interacting with, so that when I came on, I was at least prepared for that world. And if I didn't know the system, if I had to ask questions about combat or about how something, you know, worked mechanically, I at least had the credibility of, oh, they know this character. Oh, they know, you know, they set me up to make a reference to something that happened, you know, 2 seasons ago. And that can give you not just credibility, because let's be honest, that credibility in proving yourself isn't like, you don't actually need to worry that much about that. What you need is self-confidence, and you need to, you know, be able to feel like, okay, I am adding to this, not just slowing it down. So that's kind of my approach. If I will learn as much as I can about the system, I know I will not learn. I would never have learned all of Starfinder 1E. Ever. I never even touched ship combat. And I intend to never touch 1E Starfinder ship combat. No. But I knew about the other characters, and I knew about the world, and I knew about, you know, what had happened. So that helped. That helped me feel confident that, and I had other players be like, wow, you just came in. I didn't know how it was going to go, but you knew, you know, you knew everything. We didn't have to explain a bunch of backstory to you. You jumped in, you started playing. That was great. So that was like, even if I have to ask questions, you know, I've got that assurance. And I had another thought, but it's gone. I rambled too much. Back to you, David.
okay, so a quick thing. I was a pedantic asshole, okay? I was a jerk. And I'll tell you why and how I was a jerk. Because I'm the sort of person where I like to start at the beginning of a thing and then go through the end of a thing so that I can have the entire encompassed experience. If you say to me, hey, this TV show is great, but just skip the first season. First season's bad. Don't watch the first season. The rest of it is great, but the first, I am starting on episode 1 of season 1, and I'm watching the entire. So for one, do not come out here and tell me it gets good season 3 when it's an hour-long show and those seasons are 22 episode seasons, 45 minutes. I am not spending 40 fucking hours watching a bad TV show just to get to the good TV show. And oh no, I am also not skipping the first 2 seasons. If the first like 30% of your thing is bad, then the whole thing is bad. You can't no, I can be convinced otherwise, but you're gonna have a hard time. But the point is, I was, listen, Rex, I was a person where I was like, okay, we're gonna play D&D. You're gonna start at level 1, and then we're gonna go all the way to level 12 or 14 or whatever. For one, that takes years. That takes a really long time. Like the first couple of levels, you knock them out real fast, but then the XP, the milestones, that takes time. But so many classes don't get anything cool until level 3. Like, not just don't get anything cool, but like a paladin doesn't really have their identity until level 3. Like, until you make your oath, you're just generic paladin number 4, as opposed to who you are as a paladin. And the same thing with rogues. Like, I thought rogue was just a hide in shadow, pop out, stab. No, they're all different types of rogues, but you don't really start down that journey until level 3. And then if you play a martial class in 5e and you're not level 5, you're not having a good time, because your turn is, I roll to hit, and either I hit or I miss. The end. Whereas like a warrior at level 5 has 2 attacks. A barbarian that's raging has 2 attacks and reckless attack as a bonus action. So you're just swinging that thing. Barbarians are great. When we played Baldur's Gate 3, the amount of fun I had as Karlach, just bopping things. Just like bonk. Bonk, 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 bonk. Fantastic. 10 out of 10. And it's like, it doesn't seem like being able to attack 3 times in a round is 10 times as cool as being able to attack 1 time in a round, but I guarantee you it is 15 times as cool to attack 3 times in a round as opposed to 1 time in a round.
Rex says he also is too old and has done his time suffering through bad shows. Life is too short for bad entertainment. Jason says both seasons of Andor are like this. Each season doesn't really get good until around episode 4, but if you stick through, it's great. Yeah, I almost quit Andor, and then I went, okay, I'm good.
Listen, some of the texts I got from Kay about Andor.
I just got mad because at the end of episode 1, they left all the interesting characters behind.
I would look down at my phone at like 8 o'clock at night, and I'm like, Kay is really mad about something. And then I'd be like, oh, wait, Kay is watching Andor. And then like a week later, I look down at my phone, I'm like, Kay is really excited about something. Oh, wait, Kay is watching Andor.
Look, biggest complaint about Andor is there was not nearly enough K2. That's all.
But yeah, so like now I'm no longer that guy. I am no longer that guy that will make you start at level 1 to play at my table if I'm playing a home game. Because like all of our one shots are usually level 5. We're probably going to expand into like higher levels later, but we'll as our volume of charity games go up, we'll play with higher, because I ultimately want to do an oops all level 20s game with a bunch of like hardcore min-maxing nerds, and throw like 4 Taraxx at them and see what sort of bullshit they come up with. Like, I think that's going to be hilarious. But yeah, I was that jerk. I've learned, I've grown. This is your sign that you are not stuck. You could become better at all the things you're doing, and this is one of the ways in which I have improved.
I had a friend who was running a D20 based game starting at level 1 for entertainment, not a home game, and threw a 1/4 combat rating CR monster, and it was 20 minutes of missing. Player couldn't hit, no. Monster couldn't hit. Player couldn't hit, monster couldn't hit.
The way I would just drop a rock from the sky. But listen, that snake got crushed. Keep pushing.
Because like and I know we're getting very D&D focused here, which was not the point, but like in D&D, like levels 3 to kind of 8 are this really sweet spot where you're getting tools and you're expanding what you can do, and you're not powerful enough to punch a god yet, but you're feeling your kit expand and you're able to get more creative with your character and take more risks. But I will say, and this is not a complaint about the person, this was just I was one of the first games I ever played was a Pathfinder game where we started at level 5, and I was a level 5 druid knowing nothing about anything, and it was not the best idea. I was very overwhelmed. Pathfinder is, especially 1E, was a lot just to start. And then we kind of broke the game within a couple sessions, and I still feel real bad about that. But I was told that, like, I was already struggling to figure out what the hell to do at level 5. And then we were told, like, oh yeah, you all were going to go and do this one little thing, and then I was going to bop you all up to level 20. And I'm like, I wouldn't have survived. I would have been too overwhelmed. Some players are not powerful enough to punch a god, but are often confident enough to try. Look.
So because I often have K in the games that I am running, and because there's a lot of napkin flavored hubris in games that I run, I always make sure to put 3 things in every game I'm running. 1, an NPC that is, at least 1 NPC, that is very obviously so powerful that to pick a fight with them would be the epitome of idiocy. 2, I will put you in a situation where if you pick a fight, you're gonna die. And I'll make it very clear. Hey, this giant cave troll will squish your level 1 ass. Maybe try talking your way out of it. And then the third thing I would put in the game is I'm a big fan of a big bad that doesn't know who you are until you foil enough plans that they get annoyed at your presence and then come after you. But also, I will put not the big bad, but a big bad in the game where it's like when you play the original Legend of Zelda. This is back when games had like instruction manuals, and there's a map, and it shows you where Death Mountain is. And in the original Legend of Zelda, without even going into the cave to pick up the sword, you can walk to Death Mountain. You'll probably die on the way there, but you can walk up there. I will put Death Mountain. I will put a big ugly thing where you could see it and be like, oh man, I should go punch that. And I'll dare you to do it. Because, and again, and I tell all my players, if you sit at my table, your character is in danger. You might die. And it might be a bad dice roll, but 99% of the time, if you die at my table, it's because you were asking for it. It's because you went to pick a fight with the thing, with like, you saw that the Tarrasque was sleeping, and then you pepper sprayed him. Like, you're gonna get what you're gonna get.
You know, that also results in fun moments of like, yeah, sure. Yeah, see if you can bring down that cave without killing yourself in the process. Make a nature check or engineering or intelligent, whatever that was. 23?
Damn it.
Yeah, you succeed.
Hay has prevented me from team PKing their party like 4 different times now in multiple different games. Oh. And I kind of hate it. I kind of hate it a little bit. Like, and okay, so like, you know, if you're running a test game, one of the differences between running a test game and running like a home game is obviously you're testing stuff out. So, you know, a thing will happen and you're like, okay, that went this way. I want it to go that way. Can we go back and do it again and try it differently? One of the advantages of that is you can then kill the entire party and be like, I was just kidding. We're gonna go back and do it again. However, every time I've tried to kill the party, Kay has been like, like, I know I rolled terrible. The past 5 rolls have been under 5, but this is a 20. And I'm like, you sure about that? And Kay is like, yes, it's a 20. And I'm like, God damn it, why did you take this from?
Yeah, it's like it was like when we were playing Baldur's Gate 3 on stream and we had the 99 skill check. The
Yep.
not
Yep.
CR. Got the DC.
Yeah.
DC 99 skill check at Baldur's Gate 3. And I had just burned through all of my luckies, all of my inspiration, all of my rerolls. I had gone through everything. I'm like, this is unfair. It keeps getting worse. And I get 99. And I'm like, well, Leroy Jenkins, push the button, nat 20. And I'm like, this is the most me thing ever because I roll like garbage until it is absolutely what is not supposed to happen. Is the Angel of Bane in David's existence.
I wouldn't have it any other way.
But yes, put a big
but-
baddie in the game, make the players thirsty for it.
And one of the other things about learning, when it comes to learning a new system, is that, so I am someone who has GM'd a lot. I, at this point, have years of experience. I am also a professional GM. People have paid me money to GM. I have written modules that have gone on to raise tons of money for charity. I've even, and this is the big thing, I've even run games that people have enjoyed. But if you ask me about almost any spell over, I want to say level 4, I got no idea. I don't know. And to be clear, for those watching at home, the level of the spell and the level of the character are different things. Like a level 20 wizard is at most casting level 9 spells. It's level 8 or level 9.
Level 9.
See, I'm not even 100% sure about that. But the point is this, is like the idea that you have to know everything in order to run a game is fallacy, because I don't know spells over level 4, over level 5, because I don't run games that are over character level 12.
And if you doubt, Matthew Mercer pauses multiple times to check the books in the middle of games. Brennan does this more than once. In fact, I'm rewatching Crown of Candy because I needed something on in the background while I'm doing other things. And it can't be something I don't know because I can't let it distract me too much. And a whole thing, Brennan's doing a whole thing with it. And one of the characters says, Allie says, yeah, I cast detect poison. And he's like, oh yeah, you know it's poison. And Allie's like, no, I get to find out what kind of poison it is. I get to find out all these things. And Brennan's like, can I see that card? And takes the spell card and is like, okay, you get everything. You're ruining my little mystery, you are. So, being a good GM, knowing a system well enough to run it does not mean knowing every single freaking detail, and stop holding yourself to that standard, because not even Matthew Mercer or Brennan Lee Mulligan does that.
Yep. And so, like, and I'm not going to say, like, throw yourself into it blind, but don't feel like you've got to know everything. And also don't be ashamed of stopping and looking up things. Because, like Kay said, everybody does it. I forget who I was talking to, but I was in a discussion with someone about the difference between GMing in person and GMing online. And they were talking about different preferences. And they preferred to GM in person, which I totally get. And I thought about it, and I really thought about it, and I really thought about it. And I was like, I kind of prefer to GM online for the exclusive reason of my ability to Google things on the fly much faster, and the benefits of the flow of a story when you look something up surreptitiously really fast on the side of the screen while you're GMing. And then you have that piece of information and then you keep going, as opposed to, hold on a second, let me stop and flip. And then also, like I said before, a player will be casting a thing. And then I can just, while they're talking it out, I can just go grab the spell and drop it into chat for everybody to see. Because even so, like Magic Missile is a great example. Magic Missile is 1d4 plus 1 times 3. And you can have those 3 orbs hit one thing or 1 orb hit different things. And I know it has no attack roll, it just hits. If somebody in my game casts Magic Missile, I go and I look up the spell anyway. And I'm not at the point where I can just recite it, but I'm pretty close to, like, I know Magic Missile. And I still go and look it up and then dump it into chat. Because if I'm going to look it up for my own reference, even though I'm completely familiar with it, then Control C, Control V is such a minimal effort to share it, to then share it with everybody else.
Just turn the whole party into minions. One hot big bad. We're into that. Yeah, Jason says, someone says I'm going to cast a spell. Immediately ask, what does that spell do? Yeah, like, you don't have to know everything. And in fact, like, one of the fun ways to work out things is, you know, someone saying, hey, I have this spell or I have this ability. Can I use it? And it's like, what are you trying to do? And have them explain. Yeah. And then you can be like, okay, well, yes with this or no with this, but here's how we could get there. Because ultimately, the goal is to get the player to do the thing they want or as close to the thing as can be done in the world. Because we're not going to sit here and debate the rule of cool. I know people who hate it, full stop. I know people who use it too much, and it just kind of, it does devalue the game and just make it pure improv. But figuring out how can we get that cool moment while also teaching you how to use the game and the rules and the system better in the future is part of what makes a really great GM.
And another bit of advice for people who are playing a new system as players is, I'd argue the first thing you should do is familiarize yourself with the character sheet. And that doesn't necessarily mean know all of your pluses and minuses and everything off the top of your head, because that's the point of the sheet, is to keep track of that stuff for you. But know where on the sheet things are. Like, take time and like, you know, a lot of sheets are now digital, so you just plug stuff in, press a button, and then it generates it. But take time to look it over and really familiarize yourself with it, because there are, so like, again, circling back to 5e, because that's what I've run the most. The number of times I've asked someone, what is your initiative bonus? And they're like, what's that? And I'm like, it's the bonus that you have on your initiative. It's here. Or another one is armor class. I don't understand how armor class could be pretty big and pretty like centrally located, and anyone who isn't a warrior, a paladin, actually, yeah, warrior and paladin, pretty much everybody else is like, what's AC? I don't know. I've never seen it before. It's a number? I should know that? Oh, well, okay. Well, I'm sure it's something in the teens. It's like, yes, I'm pretty confident your AC is more than 10 and less than 20. We got to get a little more specific. And again, like, if you're new and, you know, you don't know the game and you don't know what a thing is, that's fine. However, it helps things go a lot faster, and it helps me explain things to you faster if you know where on the sheet a thing is. And so if I go, hey,
no tea, no shade too, because like I watched someone playing in a game who has played on the official D&D channel more than once. This was not a one-shot player. This was a person who has played D&D professionally many times and was like, oh, why is my AC so low? Do I have to equip my armor? So, like, we all have the bits that we know well and the bits that we don't know well.
Yep, absolutely.
But yeah, if I'm looking at a new system, and again, rules light, and more traditional games are often a little bit different. Learning for me, learning a rules light tends to be sit down with the playbooks, figure out your playbook, figure out kind of how things interact in general, and let the GM guide you. Is generally how that has always gone with the most success for me. If it's a more structured game, uh, like I will sit down and go like, okay, I'll kind of look over the different classes and kind of get a vibe for them. And then I'll pick, the 2 or 3 that I think I want to play. And then I will specifically go and hunt down videos that summarize what is this class and how do you play it. Because every class has both a vibe, but it also has like a difficulty.
Yep.
Because like, look, I am sad that I never got to play a oh heck, what was the name of the class in Starfinder 1E? There was a class in Starfinder 1E where you were an evolutionist, where you basically made yourself into a robot, a monster, an eldritch horror, something like that. And I really wanted to play it. But ooh-wee, was it a difficult class because there was so much you had to keep track of. There were advantages and setbacks to every point of mutation that you had. You could use your mutation and store it up and then expend it for extra things, but like then you also had to track the consequences of that. And it would have been really fun, but it was a lot. And it like basically was the reason I didn't play that class was I'm like, I'm still kind of learning Starfinder. I shouldn't play the difficult class right out of the gate.
When I was much earlier in my GMing career, for lack of a better word, one of the rules at my table was if you haven't played before, then you are restricted from playing a spellcaster. And I didn't do that for them. I did that for me because I didn't have an encyclopedic knowledge of all the different spells and all the different domains and all the different features that the different spellcasting classes get. And I still don't. But at the time I was GMing in person and I didn't want to like stop and then like flip through a book or like grab a tablet or grab a laptop and then, Google the thing and then sit there while everybody's watching me read a thing and learn about it for the first time. And then having to explain the thing to the person who is playing the game. I didn't want to do all that. And now that I am more comfortable in my knowledge of such things, I'm happy to have a new player who's also a caster because now I can keep track of their spell slots in my head or, on a scratch piece of paper. And I can keep track of like what they have and how they can cast it and like spell component. Also, I saw a small detour. I saw a hot take on the TikToks, on the Tickies, that said, if you as a GM are not enforcing component tracking on your spellcasters, then you are doing a disservice to your players. And let me tell you, that is the most incorrect take I have ever heard in all of my years in this space. So like you're not gonna have the components for resurrection on you at all times. Like if you want to do the whole thing where like you kill somebody, you bring them back, and then you ask them a question, and then they don't answer you, and kill them, bring them back. Like if you want to do that whole thing, then make your cleric go get the diamonds and walk around with 5,000 GP worth of diamonds on them at all times. But like for a lot of like level 1 spells, it's like you need like pocket sand and a feather and like a couple other like dinky things. And it's like if it's like tracking ball bearings. Like you get 1,000 ball bearings, you dump them out on the ground to make slippery terrain. I'm not going to make you count all the ones that you picked up and put them back in. It's like you have 986 ball bearings because you missed like 14. Who cares? It's still a bucket of ball bearings.
Yeah. We always say, like, we're not going to make you keep track of your arrows. Unless you start doing some fuckery. If you just start
Right.
wildly firing at innocents, right? Or just to be a dick, just emptying your quiver as fast as you can to terrorize an innocent. Okay, then we're going to make you track your stuff because you're making our life difficult. We're going to make your life difficult. I had a player panic when they realized spell components for the force cage. Very spendy. Yeah.
Yeah, like if a spell component is exotic, or if it's really expensive, again, like a diamond, then yeah, I'm gonna be like, hey, on your downtime, say to me, and again, I'm gonna say this ahead of time. Like the second you level up and you start getting those spells that have like the hard to get, really expensive components, like if you need like shavings of unicorn horn and stuff like that, then I'm gonna be like, hey, you just got this spell. Tell me that you're going to go and procure that item, that you're going to have a little stockpile that goes into the bag of holding. So when you go to cast it, I don't have to go, well, you actually didn't get all the things that you need for that. And it's expensive and rare and blah, 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 blah. Another thing is this: people underestimate how wealthy adventurers are. Because I remember I was talking to Kay about Burton.
David gets a
And
little too in to the money and the
yes,
conversions of wealth in D&D. It's a little excessive. It's a
yes,
little excessive. My eyes start glazing over. I'm not going to lie.
yep,
David's like, hold up. I have to do this conversion. And I'm like, my dude, it's D&D. The only person who cares is you.
yep, yep. But again, a reminder, as a GM, you are a player too. You should be having fun. And the fun I have is making Kay's eyes glaze over. And it is my only source of revenge for all the goddamn games that get broken. But um, but like Burton wanted a piece of armor that cost 800 GP. And I was like, that seems really pricey. That's a lot of money. And then I looked up what like the estimates are for not just total money accumulated, but like average income for like a level 5 adventurer. And in our heads, we don't think that like level 5, you are much stronger than the average person. You could do some stuff, but again, you're not punching God. These motherfuckers are wealthy, okay? They got money. They, especially when you look in the backgrounds, and it's like the aristocrat has a 1 GP a day expenditure for like living expenses, and it's like, no, that is pocket change. Like a level 5 character in 5e, 1 GP a day to live is throwaway money. Like you could drop a bag of that stuff and not care because they got that much money. And so obviously Burton got what they wanted, and I was a little sad about it, but it's fine.
No, they still haven't gotten it. You told me I'd get it later.
True. Yes. Oh, because I was an asshole. That's yeah.
Matt
Yeah.
says math
That tracks.
Math as fun is a great idea, honestly. No, it's not. In fact, David did a whole thing where we had to do all sorts of currency conversion, and I tapped out. And then another person, like everyone else in the game, had to pick that up because I'm like, no, I'm not doing it. You can rip me off and I will be poor. That's fine. And then we started the next, another game, and we were going through Lines and Veils. And one of the players from that game was like, no custom currency. No currency conversion. That is my hard line. I'm not doing it anymore. But no, one of my greatest joys in life, one of my greatest memories in a game was I just hit level 3 and I'm like, David, I'm going to make holy water.
Oh.
And David's like,
the pain.
oh, you're going to make holy water. Oh, tell me how you make it holy water. And I was playing the Paladin of the Flying Spaghetti Monster. So I said, I'm making spaghetti. And he was mad because he couldn't argue.
Roxy's rituals, like the religious rituals for Roxy, are so next level. I think Kay got an inspiration every time they popped one of those out. They are so good because Roxy is so sincere. But yeah, so when it comes to the various aspects of learning a new game and running a new game. Like, it's okay to drill down and focus on specific aspects of the game. Like, Kay and I both are really mostly unfamiliar with the D&D Pantheon. Kay knows a lot more about him than I do. And I'm just like, I need a god for this. I'm making it up. Kay, I need a name, because I'm also terrible at naming things. Um, so if you want to run a game and you're like, there are a whole lot of mechanics that I don't necessarily know about and I don't necessarily want to interact with, then don't. Like Kay said, Starfinder 1E, who amongst us has run spaceship combat in Starfinder 1E? Because not I, not Kay.
I
I
know.
don't know if
I know someone who did and said, "We will never discuss shields in Starfinder unless it is like the kind attached to your arm, because it is bad." Yeah, Jason says, "I've never used any of the costs listed in the rules. I just make up whatever GP they get at the beginning, and from then on establish what something costs, because I've given my player characters 800 GP at 3rd level, and that's fine. But then a horse might cost 200 gold points, and a potion of healing might be 500, and it only makes sense within the world you're playing." Yeah, David had a whole sliding scale for the rarity of things, and scarcity drove up price, and I'm like, cool. Cool, cool. What's the name of the PC? Bob Robert Bobberston. But yes, so, oh, hello, Gilmore. Thank you for joining us. I know everyone is happy to see you. It is now the best part of the stream, because the 3rd co-host has arrived. That's for him, but maybe David should play in my campaign.
Look, I will be the first to admit that the needling about the money is way overboard. But I allow myself one stupid thing that I do for the bit, for a goof, for the laugh, and that's the thing.
But yes, chat. So I would like to ask, if you are looking to learn a new game, either as a player or as, oh, thank you, that didn't last very long. Yes, David should have his fun. It's not my kind of fun either. I'm with you on that.
Yeah, no one's having a good time but me. No one. Precisely no one. I get it. But much in the same way that I am funny, if people have accused me of being funny over the years, and I'm like, I am not funny, because if I'm cracking a joke, I'm the one that's laughing. Like, I'm funny for me. Right? Like, I'm having a good time, like yucking over my own jokes. And if the entire room is not laughing, they're squares and I'm cool. The end.
I want to know, chat, if you are looking to learn a new system, like, what is your approach? I know, for me, it's light read over of the book, watch some APs, watch a video, on kind of here's the flow of combat, or here's kind of a breakdown of the classes. How do you go about, what's kind of your learning process? Because David and I have rambled. I mean, we've rambled quite a bit. We've gotten more than a little off topic. But like, how do you go about trying to take info about game, put in brain, and then either run or play in game? What does that process look like for you all? Because I've definitely rolled up to some. And again, I think it somewhat depends on the GM, and it also kind of depends on home game versus performance, because especially if it's a streamed or performed game, especially if it's for something like it's going to end up on their Kickstarter, which I have done, or something like that. Like, to me, then I want to make sure I know the rules in my class very well. This is also really difficult if it is a Kickstarter, because that probably means everything's not published, so you can't go and watch a billion APs because it's not out there yet. But, I try to learn as much as I can about, as I said earlier, if I can't learn everything about the rules, I can at least learn about the world and the lore so that I can come in prepared to add on to all of that. I want cool things that vibes well and functions, and that apparently scares people in bathrooms. And Ducky can give context.
You know, I feel like I should be able to give context, and I'm drawing a blank, and now I feel like I've forgotten something important. The problem is I have so many stories that start and or end in bathrooms that it doesn't narrow it down.
Jason says, when I get ready to run Blades in the Dark, I watch Glass Cannon's podcast that Jared Logan ran, and great stream, but yeah, didn't learn the rules from it. There have definitely been a few where I haven't learned the rules from it. I did appreciate there was one podcast I listened to where they started playing and they'd be like, can I do this? And the GM's like, yeah, sure. And then they'd do it. And then they'd come back at the start of the next episode and be like, okay, so we went and looked up the rules around that. And that's not how that works. Technically, this is how that works. So it's fine. It worked that time. But going forward, we're going to use the correct rules, which are this. And that was actually having players and GM get it wrong and then go back and explain it was such a valuable tool for me. DC says, read a good portion of the book, not memorizing every spell, etc. And then search YouTube videos if I don't quite understand something. Oh, and make notes and reread the book. Yeah, a lot of repetition helps. I've joined the publisher/designers Discord and asked questions there. That could definitely help. Echo Knight.
I'm thinking because I remember a lot that happened in that game. Also, like, people don't realize how much can happen in just a couple of sessions. Like, with the home game that I run, we did the math, and the players arrived to the city like 3 weeks prior and are like this close to like toppling the local government. Like very close to like having it, not just like the cops, but like the army show up and be like, hey, what are you doing?
We built our own army with orphans, with knives and
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Listen, one of my proudest creations is the little orphan army and all the dead bodies that they have generated.
But yeah, there are a lot of really valuable resources. And of course, obviously, the rules, the system, the classes, all of that are important. But the most important thing really is the story and the table vibe. Because you can learn everything you need to know. In fact, I played in a Girl by Moonlight game where we all voted and we all wanted to play the fluffy, happy, magical girl version of it, because there's 3 different things you can play within Girl by Moonlight. We all wanted to play the fluffy, happy, magical girl ones, except the GM really wanted to play the dark, depressing, Under the Rotting Skies version. And even though we all agreed we were going to play the magical fluffy, it very quickly turned into Under the Rotting Skies. And the tone of the game and the world did not match our characters. So the session zeros, those open communications, and those like sticking to the things you say you're going to do is so important, because if the table isn't vibing, then it doesn't matter what the rules are. One thing about new systems is different systems hate really different pacing and how long it takes things to happen. Yeah, pacing is definitely a thing. Go on, David. Sorry.
Like one of the important, like, you can tell when there's an odd man out at the table. Like there've been many streams where I've like sent a screenshot to Kay and I'm like, okay, first look at how ugly this overlay is. Second, see, you tell me who the person who's not having a good time is. And it's always crystal clear. And it's funny because we like obviously being in the space, you hear a lot about different conflicts that people have and like, you know, beefs that are going on. And I've seen tables where 2 people who really did not like each other played excellently together. But I've also seen tables where there are people where like everybody at the table is friends, but one person is very much not having a good time, and you're just like, ugh, like, why did you sign up for this? Did you get lied to? Like, what's happening here?
I just
Um,
watched a YouTube like documentary, a YouTube video on this one GM, and I cannot remember his name because he's trying really hard to come back and it's not working for obvious reasons, who like was incredibly popular, was making thousands of dollars a week off of running games online, and was just not paying artists, trying to get with every femme ever, and like was trying to get sexual favors from an asexual VTuber among other women while having a wife who was actually his girlfriend but calling her his wife. They were like they were intersplicing clips from all these different people who played on his channel who were talking about like, and two women were like, I had to get drunk just to play. I was so miserable at the table that I had to get drunk not to have fun, just to make it through a session. And yes, David, it was.
look, y'all. If you're struggling like that at one of my tables, tell me. You are free to move about the country. You are not chained to a table playing. And this is also why like zero sessions are important. This is why communication is important, because we've had games where we've cast people and then a person has gone, oh, who all gonna be there? And then we're like, well, we got this person, this person, this person. They're like, I don't play with that person. Like, invite me to the next table. And we're like, cool. And then we invited them to the next table and it was fine. But boy howdy, do you gotta have that zero session. Boy howdy, do you gotta like communicate ahead of time, because Jeepers Creepers. Yeah, and if you gotta get zooted in order to have a good time, then like seriously consider whether the thing that you're doing is a good time. And I've known people who've done every drug under the sun.
Arcadium, that was his name. I'll send you this documentary or this video, David. It's a little long, but you need to watch it because you'll be so mad by the end.
I'm gonna need alcohol to watch that, but
You will.
Like, there are people I've known where I've like met them out in public and I'm like, you seem a little weird. Are you feeling okay? And then they look me dead in my eyes, be like, oh, I'm sober right now. I'm like, oh, so that's what's weird about you. And like, yeah, I'm not hopped up on foosballs or whatever. And I'm like, yo, maybe contact a therapist. Maybe work on that. You know, like, nah, it's fine. I'm chilling. But yeah, if you gotta be messed up on something, if you gotta be hopped up on something in order to like do a thing, and I don't mean like going to the DMV, going to jury duty. I'm talking about doing a thing that's supposed to be fun. Then maybe consider if it's fun at all, and do you actually want to go? Because, and I know this is gonna sound weird to say, but it's okay to tell people no. It's okay to not go to a thing if you don't want to be there.
So yes, and again, I think an important part of learning a new system, bringing it back to our topic at hand, is exactly as Lamia said, the pacing of it. Because look, I have played some rules like games that I enjoyed, but there are, again, I'm the person who's like, I want to know the world, I want to know the lore before I go in so I can reference it. And there is a genuine joy in like, okay, we have all entered this new space. We are all going to work together to build it. But I'm also like, we've only got so long to play this session. Can we just go in? Just tell me what's there. And like, obviously this is not my saying, I want you to dictate the world to me, because David will tell you, I will try and inject my bullshit into the world. Left, right, and center. Can I do this? Can there be this? Can it does this? But I'm like, I will even one of the games I'm playing, we are doing a bunch of we came upon a murder scene, and the GM's like, you know this thing. And so then after the game, and like we kind of cut just right after. And between sessions, I reached out to the GM. I'm like, okay, you can tell me, right, that I need to ask any of this in session. That's fine. But like, I'm going to ask some of these questions now so that I have it. I have it in my brain. My character, who you said should know this, can say these things. And then anything else that I need to discover in the game, I can spend the time discovering that, rolling for that, getting the information and sharing it with the party, as opposed to, hey GM, do I know this? Hey GM, do I know that? Hey GM. Because, and especially in stream games, like that's kind of how I feel, because I'm like, I want to deliver information succinctly so we can move forward with the plot and or have time for bonding, character building, shenanigans, whatever that fun thing is. But even in home games to an extent, because everyone needs to be having a good time. And I feel like if it's just me sitting there with the GM going, do I know this? Do I know that? Do I know this? Do I know that? Okay, well, I'm playing a shitbag, so even though I know that, they're only going to tell the party this much of it, right? Like, that feels bad to me. So, you know, what is the pacing and the tone of that game? Because, yeah, if we're going to spend 20 minutes every time we enter a new space deciding who and what is there, I need to be mentally prepared for that, because that's very different from, yeah, you walk into the tavern and there's the quest giver and let's get into the action.
Yep. And we specifically in the charity game put an unlocked door because the running gag in TTRPG spaces is being defeated by an unlocked door.
Mm-hmm.
But
and it also let us make
like,
an AI is incorrect joke.
Right. Listen, a lot of our jokes had layers, and a lot of people picked up those layers. And I deeply appreciate the viewers who are like, hey, this is also that. And I'm like, yes, you get it. You
chat
understand.
was moving too quick, and I was juggling too many things in my tiny brain to have seen who it was. But the person who was like, they did all that, and he's only got Cat 5, not Cat 6 cables, were like,
thank you. But when you're making a character, do not think that you have to make a character that is just like brand new to the world and doesn't understand anything because you, the player, don't know things and understand everything. Because one of the things that a GM does that's part of the fun is building the lore of the world. And one of our players in one of our games has a reputation for being in a lot of social circles and being party to a lot of exclusive things that happen in that world. And so there are a lot of rumors around that character. And so there'll be times where either the player or I will go, hey, this NPC is talking about this rumor. And then the player will be like, okay, so what happened? And then I'll be able to lore dump. And I'll be like, this cool thing happened. 150 years ago, and it's totally not relevant to what's happening, but I get to tell you about it because I spent time writing it in an email draft 2 years ago, and now is my time to shine. So like, feel free to give your GM opportunities to like lore dump and whatnot, because that's part of the fun of being a GM is helping your players explore the world you've built.
Yeah, Zycrum says, I do feel like learning a new system as a relative newbie to D&D still requires the DM, GM knowing to offer that check. That is true, and that's definitely, especially early on. But like, as I've gotten, one thing I've learned, the more systems I've played, especially the more I played D&D, and I mentioned this a little bit before, like, don't be afraid to just ask, to tell your GM what you want to do or what you want to know, right? So... Brennan Lee Mulligan went into this whole thing at one point of like, people, a dragon appears, what do you do? And the person's like, well, I want to shoot it in the eye. And it's like, well, that's a really tough thing to do in D&D. Why do you want to shoot it in the eye? well, that seems like a vulnerable spot, right? There's a logic, there's an outside the world logic that they're trying to apply. And so then the GM can either go like, okay, so, you know, what you're doing is actually making this more difficult for yourself. Or you can come up with a creative way to be like, okay, well, you see that this dragon is um, white and you have a fire spell. So you think you would know in the world that white dragons are ice and they have a vulnerability to fire, right? You can kind of start leading that. Or again, I have gone into a space and looked around and been like, hey, GM, would I know anything about this? You hear a voice, that says this. Like, hey, GM, you said they sound criminal. They mentioned some underworld stuff. I play a criminal. Any chance I would know? Uh, don't be afraid to kind of just ask those questions. And sometimes the GM would say, no, you wouldn't. And sometimes they'll say, I'll roll for it. And being told, like, no, you don't know the thing is not a punishment. And it's not that you stepped out of line. It's not that you did anything bad at all. It just means, like, no, for your character, for the story, just wouldn't know this. But it is fun when you go, hey, GM, any chance I would recognize that? Give me a history check. Oh, yeah, that's a 19. Okay. So you might not know everything about this, but you know at least this much. Or just like, hey, like, you walk in, you see a dead body, you hear a scream, you walk in, you see a dead body. And then the GM stops. It's like, can I look around? Can I try to, hey, Ilaria, welcome on in. So don't be afraid to kind of, even if you don't know exactly what check, just be like, what can I look for? Because even one of my GMs in a world where I played a character with a lot of authority and a lot of knowledge around the law, I'd be like, okay, so we need to go fight something. I want to equip, I want to raid our stash and give everyone weapons. Hey, GM, is that okay? And the GM's like, well, you would know that if you're not an officer of the law, carrying weapons within the city is, illegal. You can allow them to, so long as they stay close to you, kind of. So again, don't be afraid to kind of do those just checks. Because yes, a good GM will make sure that for the really important things, but the more comfortable you get as a player and the more you ask that, the more you get a feel for when you should ask that, and the more confident you get as a player, and then you kind of are able to start making assumptions and guesses and things yourself. So don't be afraid to do that.
And to add on to that, one of the completely wrong spicy takes I've seen online is do not ask your GM for skill checks. And I think that's entirely wrong for a number of reasons, including but not limited to, you don't know when your GM has not thought of a thing. For instance, you don't have to be a rogue to check for traps.
Mm-hmm.
Like, rogues have skills that help them be better at it, but you could still roll a 20 on that trap check. Or, if you're just a soldier in an army, that doesn't mean that you didn't necessarily overhear something about this long lost artifact at a bar at 3:00 in the morning because some scholar got off of work, showed up and started drinking heavy, and then was just telling everybody all his business. I have had players ask me for skill checks, and I'm like, oh, I didn't even think of that. And I'm like, yes, absolutely. Or like, I've had players go, hey, can I roll investigation on that? And I'm like, well, it's not really an investigation, but roll insight instead. And then I've also had players be like, oh, can I roll a history check on this thing? And I'm like, this thing is so commonly known that you don't need a skill check for it. Here is the information. But it is part of the communication between the player and the GM, like Kay said, of tell the GM what you're trying to do. And it's up to a GM to guide you down the right path to get you there.
Let me be clear. Once upon a time, there was very much the GM is the opponent of the player's mindset. That is really not the case anymore. And you don't have to play with that GM unless you specifically want that kind of GM. Let me be entirely clear with that.
And I really hate that approach of TTRPGs, especially D&D specifically, because one, you can just put a combat rating enemy in the room that is so high that the players can't possibly win. Like if you're level 1 and 3 beholders show up, that fight's over. You've lost. In addition to that, they're like between legendary actions, layer actions, which help the GM compensate for action economy, but also like minions and traps. And there are just so many ways that if a GM wanted to make sure that you did not have a good time, that not only did your party die, but like you struggled the whole time and there was no chance for you, they could easily do that. It is harder to balance a fight so that you barely win than to make a fight where the GM just wins. And for me, it doesn't feel competitive if one person has all the tools to win automatically every time. And so what is even the point? And so if you have a malicious GM that's trying to screw you, go somewhere else. And that doesn't mean that like your GM should not introduce conflict, because there will be fights that I throw at my players where I'm trying to kill the players, but I'm never ever setting things up where it's like there's zero chance for you to win. This is like a bad horror movie where everybody dies. No, like there is a chance, but we'll see if the dice are on your side. We'll see if you're smart enough to use all of your tools in order to overcome these challenges I've set in front of you.
Yeah. And as I've often said, you know, my approach to it is like your characters are going to become heroes. It is my job to, I am on your side, but it's my job to make that journey as difficult as I can to make it rewarding so that it feels fulfilling. It feels like a good story.
Like yeah, when the monarch puts the medal over your head, you're gonna have 1,000-yard stare. You're not gonna be in that moment because you're going to be reliving all the shit that you got to go through to get there.
You're going to be so focused you won't hear Chewie legitimately screaming about not getting his medal.
Right? Ooh, I'm still mad about that. It's been decades. I'm still mad about that.
But with that, we are at the end of our time. So we did not get into as much of the weeds as this because I do feel like if you have been around TTRPGs even a little bit, you do understand that there is a difference between rules light and more traditional TTRPGs. You do understand there's a difference between learning a game to play it and learning a game to run it. Also, like if you want a game where everyone dies, there are systems for that. If you want a game where nobody is a hero, there's a system for that. Exactly. Look, if you want everybody to die, and if they lived, they're probably better off dead. Trophy Dark. It's right there. But, you know, there are many, many resources available to us. We are long past the days when you just had to sit down with a book and muscle through it. Watch an AP. Watch a video on how this game plays. Watch a video on the classes that you are interested in playing, because just watching a breakdown of this is how this class plays, this is what it does, this is how complicated it is, you know, here's why it's cool, here's why it's not, can educate you so much about how much tracking am I going to have to do? How durable is this? You know, is this one of those classes that feels really good until level 5 and then drops off hard and is just not fun after that? Am I going to have to think, or do I just want to play the bonk machine? Because there's nothing wrong with playing the bonk machine. If you just want to show up and bonk things and use all that mental energy to figure out how to torture your GM, the day I play a barbarian is the day David is going to like triple gray hairs. Because all I'm going to have to do is think about how can I mess this up.
Yep. And like circling back to Baldur's Gate 3, like the two favorite characters combat wise was Karlach, because like two-handed weapon go burr. But also Shadowheart, because what's the spell with the things that
Uh, uh,
spirit guardians?
Spirit Guardians, yeah.
Popping spirit guardians and then just running her around the map, hilarious.
Didn't matter if she couldn't hit.
Endlessly. Right, just endlessly hilarious. Like, oh, there's a group of them over there. Go put full plate on her and go stand her in the middle of them. Delightful. Um, and and I say that as someone who really likes. I don't play a lot of casters, but as someone who really likes casters, who likes spells because spells are cool, being able to be like button go burr, fantastic. And it also doesn't limit your role play ability, because your skills don't say what kind of background you're from, what kind of person you are, how much you like crabs. Like it doesn't talk about any of that.
Uh, and also, what you need to know to start to play can vary from table to table because, as we said, a lot of games, especially rules light, GM really just needs you to know your personal character sheet and to show up, and they will walk you through it. I've definitely run some 5e games where I'm like, you don't have to know 5e. I will teach you 5e. I need you to show up and know how to read a room and be part of the table, right? I will teach you the mechanics. Don't worry about that. That's the easy part, right? So, have that session 0. Talk to your GM. If you are nervous, especially if you're worried about, I really want to play this class, I've got this character, I don't know the system, I am concerned, right, that I'm not going to know how to do this, talk to your GM and the GM will help you out. They might tell you, don't play the complicated class, or they might tell you, no, I got it, I'll walk you through it, it'll be good. And again, when in doubt, especially if you know you have a GM who can teach you the basics. If you have the option, learn everything you can about the world, the other characters. If it's, I've had the great opportunity, privilege, and advantage of joining a couple games where they've already had a season or two out online, so I could go back and just binge everything and then build my character to fit that party. Not in a min-maxing way, but in like what skills do they need? What personalities do they need? And being able to come in with that confidence of like, I know this group and I know this world, made me feel much more comfortable asking for help when I needed it, because I wasn't going, they're gonna feel like, they're gonna think I don't know anything. They're gonna say I'm a fake nerd girl. Because look, I'm not gonna lie, fake nerd girl is a deep fear of mine. Still, to this day. And with that, I think we are going to wrap up. Chat, thank you for sharing all that you have, your insights, your comments, your suggestions. If you're watching this on YouTube and you have really, really awesome tips for learning how to play, please shout it. I'm sure there's something cool that we missed. We are going to wrap up because this one is going to demand. I left the house today. I had to go work from the office, and how dare I? So he needs me to sit so he can be in my lap because my shoulder is not as comfortable. He has informed me. And this is unacceptable. Yes, thank you all for hanging out. It is always a treat. Thank you again, everyone who came by for the fundraising stream on Sunday. I hope you had as much fun as we did. Not gonna lie, I laughed really, really hard. Ilaria, thank you for the resub. Thank you again to Puddleglum for the bits. And Rex, thank you for resubbing today. David, who the heck is you and what the heck has we been doing here?
I am still contemplating what day I'm going to stream video games. So if y'all have an opinion on that, please let me know. But hi, I'm David, and this has been, is, and will be the Chaotic Wholesome Tuesday Table Talk Show, where every week we talk about TTRPG stuff, how to be a better player, how to be a better GM, how to be a better person, all with a focus on intersectionality and inclusivity so that everybody can have a good time.
He tried to kick my butt so hard that he fell. And hey, I'm Kay. I'm here doing this on Tuesdays. Allegedly, we will be playing the Weird Wilds War on Friday over at Entropy Emporium. We'll find out. We will not in fact, have a show next week. I'm going to delete that off the calendar right now. We are taking next week off for Christmas. However, we will be back on the 30th, and we will be talking kind of our year in review. We didn't do as much this year as we normally do,
Yeah.
so it might be a little bit shorter, and that means we're going to be needing y'all. Like, we want to hear what games you played, what you accomplished, what you're most proud of, and what are some of just your best memories of the year, because that will make us very happy. Next week on the 24th, Wednesday, the latest episode of the Emergency Power Podcast, our Starfinder 1E adventure, will come out. So please check that out if you are willing. And we are going to continue to be nerdy in the Discord. Come hang out with us if you are not, and if you are not overwhelmed with Discord servers. Because look, everyone's got a Discord server. There's too many. I get it.
Yeah.
You do not have to hang
yeah.
out. We would love to see you. There's lots of memes and lots of cat pictures. Allegedly, lots of dog pictures too. But I don't check that channel. So, as always, thank you all. We hope you have a very happy holiday, whatever you celebrate. Be kind to yourself, be excellent to others, and we will see you on the 30th. Bye, y'all.